make people think about the kind of hard answers. I'd love to know why you guys are famous.
Great question, Socrates. I'm famous for being a very fast runner and strong and accurate hunter. At one point in my life, I killed a Caledonian boar, which was famous for killing people who tried to attack it. What about you, Matthias?
I'm famous for saving Rome. I'm also famous for burning off my right arm. What about you, Helen?
I'm famous because my beauty started the Trojan War. The Trojan War started when Paris, the Prince of Troy, and his men kidnapped me so he could marry me. Paris wanted to marry the most beautiful woman. He gave Aphrodite a golden apple as a gift if she would find him the most beautiful woman to become his wife. Aphrodite told Paris that I was the most beautiful woman. How about
I, Atalanta, lived in a cave on a mountaintop with bears in Caledonia. When I was born, my dad Aeacus was upset that I was a girl, not a boy, so he left me on a mountaintop to die. And a bear came and took me to her cave. Where did each of you live?
I lived in Rome. Rome was so important to me that I was willing to die for Rome. I believed in what Rome was doing.
I lived in Sparta, a very big city in Greece, with my parents, Tyndareus and Leda, the king and queen of Sparta, and my sister and 2 brothers. When I married my husband, Menelaus, he became the rulers of Sparta. How about you, Socrates?
Thanks, Helen. I lived in Greece, but I never really stayed in one place for a long time. I wandered around a lot because I wanted to ask everybody I could find questions. Do you have a question for us, Nukius?
I wanna hear a myth. Does anyone have a myth about their life?
Wait a minute, Lucas. What's a myth?
A myth is a made-up story that explains why something happens the way it does. Gods and goddesses are often characters in myths. I don't have a myth because I was real. My story is about saving Rome. I wanted to kill an enemy, Lars Porsena, but I accidentally killed the treasurer. I got surrounded and almost got tortured, but I burned off my arm, and the king was so amazed that I got set free, and the king left. Can you tell me a myth about you? If you don't have one, just tell a story.
Here's a story about me. My parents were Zeus and Leda. Zeus was the king of the gods and lived in Olympus. Zeus turned himself into a swan to catch my mother Leda's attention. Because my father was a swan, I was born from an egg. I was raised by my mortal father Tyndareus and my mother. This story shows how special I am because I was born differently than most people. How about you, Socrates?
Well, one story from my life, which is from when I was in the Army. I was in the Army for 11 years. So it was when I was transferred to northern part of Greece. It was very cold and it was winter and there was actually snow on the ground. So my commander called for me to take a message to the other part of the camp. And I came to him, but I came barefoot, no shoes on in the snow. This shows how tough and devoted to Greece's cause I was.
Not as much as me.
Oh, be quiet. You're Roman, not Greek.
Here's a story about how I got my second husband. One day, my father Aeacus found me and told me I had to marry. I said that I would only marry if someone could beat me in a running race. Aphrodite came to Hippomenes and gave him 3 golden apples. When I raced against Hippomenes, I gave him a head start. When I caught up, Hippomenes threw a golden apple, and I ran and picked it up. When I caught up again, he threw another golden apple, and of course, I had to run and get it. When I finally caught up, he threw his last golden apple into a field, so I ran and picked it up. And because of that, Hippomenes crossed the finish line before me. Helen, do you have any questions for us?
Now that you know a little more about my life, I'd like to tell you about my greatest strength, bravery. Because of my great beauty, I was kidnapped twice in my life. Once when I was a child, and later by Paris, which started the Trojan War. I was brave because I knew people would come and save me. How about you, Socrates?
Good question, Helen. I think my greatest strengths are my love for learning and my wisdom because I ask so many questions. My love for learning today still inspires people to be curious. How about you, Atalanta?
My greatest strengths are bravery, hunting, and running. I was brave because I hunted the Caledonian boar, which was gigantic. I was a good hunter because when I was a young girl, I killed 2 centaurs by myself with a bow and arrow. And I was a great runner because I had many victories. People today still admire me for my bravery. How about you, Matthias?
Great question. My greatest strengths are bravery and patriotism. These are my strengths because I don't care if I die, which is shown by how I purposely burned off my right arm. Anybody else have any more questions?
Oh, I want to ask another question. I'm good at it.
Socrates, you're going to ask questions all day. Let me ask one. Well, I'd love to know if you're still alive. I was never alive, even though the Greeks acted like I was. I was just in their imagination.
Since I live in ancient Rome, I died thousands of years ago, but my legacy still lives on.
Like Mucus, I died thousands of years ago. My story was mythological, but most people thought I died with a guilty heart because my beauty started the Trojan War. But you, Socrates?
Well, I had an interesting life, but I also had an interesting death since I was a real person in ancient Greece. So I was put on trial for corrupting the youth, basically asking too many questions. It was too easy for them to condemn me to death, but my death was postponed. There was some sacred ship sailing to the island of Delos with an offering, so I was put under house arrest for 30 days until the ship came back. A couple days into my term, my friends offered to bust me out, but I declined. I wanted to stay trustworthy all the way to my death. But then the day came and I drank my hemlock poison that they offered me. Hemlock poison was the common way to execute criminals back then. But the poison took an unusual amount of time to take effect on me. So I had a normal conversation with a couple people before I died. But then I laid on my bed and I died in 399 BC.
We hope you've enjoyed learning more about these Greek and Roman gods, goddesses, heroes, and famous people. Thank you for coming. We would now like to invite you to tour our museum projects. Enjoy.
Oh, other